All right, good morning, everybody. This week is National Fossil Day, and we are very excited to celebrate at the Alf Museum with our Let's Tour live stream event. This week, we're going to be visiting three national collections to learn all about the amazing fossils that they have and learn about why they are preserving the fossils in public lands that they are found on. As with National Fossil Day from the National Park Services, we ask the question, why are museum collections important? This week, more specifically, why are national collections so important? When we visit our amazing national parks and monuments, we think of the beautiful landscapes and wonderful outdoor experiences. But many of our parks and monuments are also home to some incredible fossil collections. This week, we are going behind the scenes with their scientists to learn more about these collections and why it's so important to preserve them and the land they are found on. Today, I am very, very excited and honored to bring you to Dinosaur National Park with the one and only Rebecca Hunt Foster. Rebecca Hunt Foster is a monument paleontologist and museum curator at Dinosaur National Monument. The monument was set aside to preserve the historic Carnegie Quarry as well as other natural and cultural resources located in northeastern Utah and northwestern Colorado. Hello, Rebecca. Welcome to our live stream event.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
No, we're so excited to have you. I'm very excited to have you on the show. How are things going over there at the monument?
It's a great rainy day here at the monument.
That's awesome. We could use a little rain here in California. It's getting kind of dry, even though it's chilly. It's nice. All right, so today you're gonna take us on a tour of the monument, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to show you the historic Carnegie Quarry.
This is so awesome. I really can't wait to hear all about it and learn the stories. I myself have not been to this place yet, and this is gonna make me feel like I need to hop in the car and drive there this weekend. So I'm
Yeah,
really, really excited.
it's a really cool place, so we need to have you come out here, Gabe.
Soon. I will be right out there. All right. So, everybody, as I said, Rebecca's going to take us on a tour of the Carnegie Quarry. If you have any questions for Rebecca along the way, make sure you type them in the chat. And once she's done with the tour, we'll have a Q&A and we'll be able to discuss and ask as many questions as we can in the hour. So, okay, Rebecca, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm visiting you here today from the traditional lands of the Ute, Southern Ute Indian Tribe, and the Ute Mountain Tribe, along with our other associated 36 tribes here in northeastern Utah and northwestern Colorado in Dinosaur National Monument. And so today I'm coming to you from the historic Carnegie Quarry. The Carnegie Quarry is what Dinosaur National Monument was originally set aside to protect in 1915. And this quarry was found the site was found in 1909. A group of paleontologists from the Carnegie Museum of Natural History came out to Jensen, Utah, Vernal, Utah area looking for fossils to put on display at their museum. And the original fossils they had come to excavate had actually been poached, and so they had to look for new fossils. And so they came into this area in Jensen, Utah in August of 1909 looking for fossils and actually came across a mountainside that had several fossils preserved. All of these fossils are late Jurassic in age, so they're about 150 million years old. And what they originally found were 8 vertebrae belonging to a dinosaur that later becomes known as Apatosaurus. And I will show you a map real quick of what the quarry used to look like. It's upside down.
Rebecca, it's upside down. Okay.
So here is a map of what the quarry looks like today. Everything under that red line is what you can see when you visit the quarry. But everything above that are the fossils that have been removed and that now you can see at museums all over the world. So the first fossils that were excavated were actually these right here of a dinosaur called Apatosaurus. So Apatosaurus is a long neck plant-eating dinosaur. So you can see Apatosaurus. Oh, where is Apatosaurus? Right here. And so we actually have quite a few of these long-necked sauropod dinosaurs. These are kind of the traditional dinosaurs that people think of when they think of these late Jurassic rocks. We have dinosaurs like Barosaurus, Apatosaurus, Diplodocus, and then Camarasaurus. Camarasaurus is actually the most common dinosaur that we find in the Morrison Formation, and we actually have 2 skulls that are preserved here on the quarry wall that I will show you here in a moment. We also have the herbivores, Camptosaurus, Stegosaurus, and Dryosaurus. So these are other little plant eaters that were living in the area, as well as the meat-eating dinosaurs, Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus, and Torvosaurus. So Allosaurus is our Utah state fossil. And if you lived in Colorado, the Colorado state fossil is Stegosaurus. So we have 2 great Jurassic dinosaurs for both of our state dinosaurs, and both of them are represented here. So let's walk down this way, and we will look at a few of these fossils. So come with me this way. So if you look this direction, you'll see right by this post here, these 2 large bones. Those are actually both femora, or your upper leg bone, of 2 of these long neck plant-eating dinosaurs. The bigger one that's a little higher, this one, let's see if I can point to it, right here, is Apatosaurus. You can tell this bone is a lot larger, a little more robust than the one a little lower to it, right there. That is Diplodocus. And so Diplodocus and Apatosaurus are both cousins. They're both long neck plant-eating dinosaurs, but this Diplodocus is a little smaller and a little thinner than the Apatosaurus. Keeping in mind too that both of these bones actually happen to be from the same side of the body, and they're both upside down on the quarry wall. So that's something cool to see. And then if we come just a little further down here, let's see. And we're going to see if we can, oops. We're not going to be able to zoom in, but if you look at where the light is shining right here, you might be able to see that that is the skull of Camarasaurus. So we actually have, like I mentioned, 2 Camarasaurus skulls preserved on the wall, which is really rare because, especially with these sauropod dinosaurs, their skull bones are very thin. So they don't often get preserved. But here on the quarry wall, we actually have 2 of these skulls preserved for Camarasaurus. So one might want to know, how did all of these bones get preserved in this area? Why are they all here? Did they all die at the same time? And what actually happened here is that we know that this area was once a lush floodplain. There were many trees and lots of vegetation, especially to support the diversity of these herbivorous dinosaurs that were living in this area. So we know that these animals were coming here, they were feeding, they were eating, they were happy. But then it looks like a drought happened. And the river that flowed through this floodplain started to drop, just like in modern day droughts, like what we're experiencing these days. The river level dropped, the food sources were starting to suffer and dry up, and these animals were probably getting drought stressed and sick and dying in this area. They were dying both on the side of the channel, and then they were probably going down into the river channel some as well, and dying in that area. So later, when the water comes back up, when the rains resume and things like this, those fossils, or those dinosaurs that have died, get covered up by sand and mud and turn into fossils. So the way that we can tell that there is a drought happening and that this is occurring is that in the quarry, one of the smaller fossils that is also the most plentiful fossil that we get here at the quarry is a clam. And all of these clams are popped open. And that tells us that this area was undergoing drying. And so while we are famous for our fossils here, our fossils of dinosaurs, we actually have a lot more clam fossils, which is an invertebrate fossil. So those are some more of our frequent fossils that we find here. We also get things like crocodiles and turtles, which are also cool and tell us a little bit more about the environment of this ancient river channel. So if we continue down this way, I will show you some other fossils. So like I mentioned, we have many camarasaurs, a lot of these plant-eating dinosaurs, but we also have dinosaurs like Allosaurus. So let's go down here where we can see an Allosaurus leg preserved on the quarry wall. So when you think about Allosaurus, they're kind of like big birds, right? So if we come down here, we'll be able to see a very large Allosaurus leg bone from it's large, but it's still from a juvenile animal. So we're going to right down here. I'm gonna see if my laser pointer will work so that you can see it. That's pretty good right there. So if you look at where my laser pointer is shining right here, what we actually have is an Allosaurus leg. So we have the femur, the tibia, and the fibula, and then actually an articulated foot of an Allosaurus. Also on this part of the wall, we have several Stegosaurus preserved. We have Stegosaur plates. So there's several Stegosaur plates spread along the wall here. And then you may also notice things like this articulated neck. We get a lot of articulated necks and tails from these sauropod dinosaurs. So these are animals that, had died in this area, but their bones hadn't become completely disarticulated or pulled apart due to the fact that there's a lot of connective tissue on those necks and tails that kind of hold the bones together. So I am going to grab the iPad really quick while we go down the stairs, and we are going to go look at a Camarasaurus. But before we do that, I want to really quick show you, see if we can see this other skull. This area of the rock also preserves another Camarasaur neck and skull. It can be kind of hard to see from this area, so we'll go ahead and go downstairs and I'll show you another Camarasaurus that you can see. We're having a beautiful rainy day here today in northeastern Utah. Make sure tomorrow that you tune in for the other National Fossil Day events. You're going to have Nick Famoso tomorrow from John Day Fossil Beds. And then you'll also have Ed Welch from Badlands the day after that. And they're both going to talk to you about some really cool fossils from their national parks, but they'll be mammal fossils. So they have some really cool things to show you. We're going to get back to the dinosaurs here in just a second as we go down this big ramp to take you downstairs. And we're going to look at these Camarasaur fossils. So I am going to hand off this iPad real quick. And so what we'll see here is this Camarasaur fossil. This is a cast or a replica of one of the most famous Camarasaurs that's ever been found anywhere in the world. And it was found right here at Dinosaur National Monument. So if you want to kind of pan this way, get all of that in there. So this fossil represents still to this day the most complete sauropod that's ever been found anywhere outside of the Jurassic, any of it. It's a pretty complete skeleton. It contains all the different parts with the exception of a few ribs and tail vertebra. And so this was found in 1919. And this specimen really helped scientists understand how these dinosaurs went together, because before that, they weren't always sure if their arms were directly underneath them or if they were off to the side. And so this kind of helped paleontologists to be able to learn a lot more about how these dinosaurs were put together and the way that they grew as well. So this is a really important dinosaur, and you'll see this mount, this replica, at many museums all over the country. But if you want to see the real one, you'll have to go to the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh. So let's head down this way real quick. This is another important dinosaur that was found here at Dinosaur National Monument. This dinosaur is a new dinosaur to science that was found in the 1990s and recently published. And this dinosaur is actually called Allosaurus jim-madsoni. So this dinosaur was not found here in the Carnegie Quarry, but it was found just outside of the quarry in rocks that are slightly older than what we find here. So when we think about the Morrison Formation, these rocks that preserve all of these dinosaurs, it's kind of like a book. And if you remember, books have different chapters. And so the older chapter in the Book of Morrison would be the salt wash chapter, the salt wash member of the Morrison Formation. And that's where this dinosaur was found. All the dinosaurs that we find in the Carnegie Quarry are actually from a member called the Brushy Basin. But when we look at this specimen, you can see that it's reasonably complete. You can get a little closer if you want. It preserves the neck, the chest, the pelvis area, the tail, the foot, And this specimen is really nice because it's very articulated and it actually had a very nice skull preserved with it as well. So if we want to come over this way, I'll show you some of the other really interesting fossils from Dinosaur National Monument. Here in this case, we have several of the fossils that have been found elsewhere in the monument. So this includes things like turtles, salamanders, fish. We even get coprolites, which are fossilized poop. We even get snails, and we have some of the first frogs that have ever been found in the Jurassic period that were found here at Dinosaur National Monument. These fossils were all found in other quarries outside of the historic Carnegie Quarry, but they show us all this diversity of life that would have been living alongside the dinosaurs. Here in this case, we have things like fossilized pine cones, fossilized wood that actually has beetle borings on it, and many of the bones in the quarry, if we can come a little closer right here, have these little pock marks on them. Those bones are actually have been eaten by insects. So most of the fossils that we have on the quarry wall here have not been scavenged upon by meat-eating dinosaurs. They've almost all been broken down by beetles or other insects. And this tells us that these fossils probably were covered reasonably rapidly while they were still covered in flesh, and that these bugs, just like modern day bugs, were helping to break down those carcasses and dissolve down that flesh and tissue. This case shows some of our really cool rare fossils. So let's see if we can get up kind of close on some of these. We have sphenodonid skulls. Sphenodonids are basically reptiles. Their closest ancestor still lives today in New Zealand, the Tuatara. We also have lizards. Here's another lizard skull. And we also get little mammals that are preserved here at the quarry. Stegosaurus is one of my favorite dinosaurs here at the quarry, and I'll show you one of the really neat stegosaurs that we have here in a minute. But here you can see a nice stegosaur plate and a stegosaur tail spike. I mentioned we have lots of turtles. This is one of the large turtles called Dinocheles. It was first found here at the quarry, as well as some crocodiles and some other turtle material. And then here we actually have one of those clams that I was telling you about. So if we come over here, you'll see again Allosaurus. Allosaurus being kind of our mascot for Dinosaur National Monument here, because we have a lot of allosaurs that have been preserved here at this quarry. But we actually have one of the best, if not the best, allosaur skull that's ever been found here on display in the quarry. So you can see this really beautiful skull here. This is a real skull. So when you come to the quarry, you will be able to see the real thing. You can see the beautiful teeth preserved. It's a really nice specimen. And then one of my very favorite fossils is this baby Stegosaurus. So this specimen right here represents one of the most complete baby Stegosaurs that's ever been found anywhere. We do know that baby Stegosaurus had small plates on its back, although our specimen was not found with stegosaur plates. And we still do not have any stegosaur nesting sites that have been found anywhere in the Jurassic. So this is a very interesting specimen that work is undergoing on right now to see exactly how old this animal was when it died. So we're real quick going to come over here to the quarry wall, and I'm going to give you a close-up look at the quarry wall. So I am going to grab the iPad real quick, and we're going to flip it around so that you can see some of the cool fossils here on the quarry wall. One of my favorites is this small Apatosaurus. This is an Apatosaurus femur. So you can see it's actually not that large. Kayla, you want to stick your hand in there for scale? So it's not really that big compared to an adult size. The other one is right here. So there's lots of really cool fossils that you can see here on the quarry wall. And then there's lots of tiny ones that sometimes are harder to see from far away, like this Allosaurus tooth. We also have, in this section of the wall, lots of Barosaurus. Barosaurus is another long-necked dinosaur. And there's several of its bones scattered throughout this area, including this really nice vertebra. So we're going to turn this back over to Gabe to see if any of you guys have any questions for us here at Dinosaur National Monument. I can't hear you, Gabe.
Sorry, I was distracted. I was trying to find an Airbnb to your area because I'm trying to see how fast I can get over there.
There's a few in town. I'm sure someone can help you.
That's such an amazing place. Like the whole time I was just sitting here like with my mouth open of how cool it is. What is it like for you to walk into work every day and just have this giant wall of fossils?
It's amazing. Every single time I come here, I see something different. I mean, no day is ever the same. So I feel very lucky to be able to work in such a very cool place.
That's so cool. I mean, for you, as also the curator of the museum, what is it like to care for such an amazing exhibit? You know, most people, when we see museums, it's casts and replicas of dinosaurs put together or fossils put together, but you have this amazing wall to show in situ fossils. So, what's it like to take care of something like this? And, like, how do you preserve a whole wall of fossils?
It is really cool, and it brings its own unique, challenges. We have cracks that you can probably see running through the wall here. So we have to monitor those cracks and make sure that they aren't getting any larger because we don't want any of the fossils becoming damaged. We have to keep an eye on the fossils to make sure that when they are breaking up, we're repairing them and keeping an eye on them because we don't want anything to fall out. The whole intent of this really cool quarry wall was always to leave these bones in place here for people to be able to see. So some folks may remember coming here prior to the 1990s and seeing paleontologists up on the wall working on it. And while some fossils were removed, we left a lot of those fossils up here for people to be able to see because we want you to be able to come here and see these fossils just like they were left in the ground when all these animals died. So there's a very variety of conservation techniques that we use as far as glues and adhesives and ways of keeping these things protected. And then keep in mind too, all these fossils when they were preserved, were flat lying. And then over time, as mountain building occurred, it tilted this rock layer up to where it is today, to where it's at this pretty steep angle. And so it can be somewhat precarious to climb around and get to some of these sites. And sometimes it's really hard to get to some of the fossils to be able to have researchers study them or for people to be able to see them. So we sometimes have to rope up and wear special harnesses and have safety clips in so that we don't have any accidents when we're on the quarry wall, because we want to make sure that we're safe, but we also want to make sure we're protecting these great fossils.
That's so cool. Like, how often do you get to say for work, like, oh, I just climbed the wall, just rappelled up it or rappelled down it for a little bit. No big deal. What's for dinner? That's like your day?
I wish it was every day, but yeah, it is very special and it is very cool.
Well, speaking of research and excavation, we have a couple questions about that from both Jared McGowan and Steve Karolek. They're both asking if there are any active excavations going on at the wall or in the monument currently, and are there any more important fossils still in the wall that you haven't showed today?
Yeah, that's the fun thing about the wall is it's so big and it can be so hard to show you everything up there. Even when I'm up there, you'll like that little Allosaur tooth. Sometimes you have to be right up on it to see some of these small fossils. So we have had scientists coming from all over the world who come to study the fossils on the quarry wall, study fossils that are in our museum collections, doing a variety of things. We have some students doing bone histology and looking at Allosaur material. We have other students who have come to look at Camarasaurus. We have a group coming this weekend to look at Diplodocus feet, only feet. So that's kind of exciting. So while there aren't really any current excavations taking place on the wall, if there are fossils outside of the building that are at risk from erosion, vandalization, we may have to remove those to protect them. But in general, we do like to leave the fossils where people can enjoy them and experience them and see them. So the most recent bone that we've removed from the quarry wall is a stegosaur femur that was at risk of falling out. It was about 30 feet up and had to excavate that from a cherry picker, which was a lot of fun. There's also a sauropod premaxilla, so the front of the face here where the teeth are, that we found earlier this summer that we need to get out and excavate as well, because sometimes those dental batteries where all these teeth are can be really informative. So that's another specimen that we want to excavate. We don't have any current long-term excavations going on in the park. We have had scientists recently looking at large petrified trees that are preserved in the park. We have scientists that are studying ancient fossils, even more older than the dinosaurs, looking at trilobite fossils that also occur along our Yampa and Green Rivers. So we have scientists studying those, but we don't have any long-term dinosaur excavations occurring at the moment. Hopefully here in the future, we'll have some more of those coming on.
How fun. If you ever need someone to help out, you have my phone number, so.
I'll
You mentioned vandalism. Is that something that happens a lot at not just your monument but other national parks? And how do you go about preventing something like that?
That's a great question. So vandalism is unfortunately definitely part of something that we deal with as federal land management paleontologists, whether it's actual fossils in situ or whether it's dinosaur tracks or something like that. It's something that's happening, unfortunately, more and more frequently. We may have people that want to make copies of dinosaur tracks that may pour plaster into them or take drills or saws out and try to cut and remove them, which really does a lot of damage. We also have problems with people who are really they're super curious and they're passionate about fossils too, and they just want to take home a souvenir. But people may not remember that these fossils are really important and federally protected, so you can't collect any vertebrate fossil or anything in a national park, but especially on federal land, you can't collect vertebrate fossils without a permit. And so we ask that people don't pick those up, that they leave them in place when they find them and contact a paleontologist or their local museum or any of the staff here in a park or on federal land that can help you with that. And then also when you pick up those pieces, sometimes even if they're loose and they've rolled down a hill, that's the kind of thing that we use to trace back to find the source of where these bones are coming out. And you never know when the fossil you might take might be another great exposure like this. And even those little small fossils can really fill in the gaps. So we need more eyes and ears on the ground. So it's people who are out enjoying their public lands who can really help us out and report those kinds of things and get back to us on it. We really appreciate hearing from you guys.
That's awesome. So for those of you at home, like Rebecca just said, if you see something, it's always best to just leave it alone, contact, someone like Rebecca, take a photo, right, Rebecca? That's a good thing.
Yeah, taking pictures is great. We love pictures. It's good to get a picture of it in the ground. You might put your hand in there for scale and then get a picture of like the skyline. Where is it at? Is it near a tree or a cool rock outcrop, or is there a mountain in the background? All these kinds of things can help us relocate a site. And then if you have the ability to get a GPS reading or put a dot on a map, that kind of stuff is invaluable for us. And sometimes if we're available, we love to go out to the site with you so you can show us your discovery. And there are many fossils that have been named after the people that discover them. So this can be really important. So reach out to us. We really do love to hear from you guys.
It's true. We don't bite most of the time. No, we don't. I'm just kidding. Rebecca, here's a question from John Noad. Are there any associated footprints in the monument? Because I know you had mentioned footprints.
Yes, so we do have several footprint sites here in the monument. We have tracks that are older than dinosaurs that go back into the Permian. We have traces of things like trilobites, but we also have dinosaur trackways. Most of them are not super accessible. They might be in more remote areas of the park. And we even have some track sites of little mammals hopping up dune sets and spiders and scorpions and things like that. So we actually have quite a few tracks that are preserved here in the park.
That's so cool that you mentioned spider tracks too. We just did a TikTok on that on Friday. So that's so cool that you have spider tracks too.
Yeah, totally.
Here's a question from Tut, who we all know and love. Tut's asking, do you have a favorite fossil or set of fossils in the Carnegie Quarry?
Yeah, so definitely I would say one of my favorites is that baby Stegosaurus. It's just so cool to see such a small little Stegosaurus and think about how little they were compared to the giant dinosaurs that they turn into. So I'm really impartial to that baby Stegosaurus. And then again, that Allosaurus leg that I showed you, that was probably pretty hard to see for you guys. It's really cool because it looks like the animal just sat down. The leg is just folded up and almost completely articulated. And I always kind of wonder how much more of that Allosaurus is still in the hill, in the rock that we just don't know about.
That's that brings us to a really great question. How you said it looks like it just laid down. This one's from Jared. Is there any way to determine if these animals died in one or a couple of bad droughts, or is it something that they died from several periodic or recurring droughts?
That's a really great question. So we can tell by looking at the rocks here that there's at least three separate events that occurred here. We can't yet tell how much time separates those events. We just don't have the technology yet to be able to tease that apart. But we know that all these events occurred after 150 million years, plus or minus half a million. And we can tell from the different rock layers that there's at least three of these events that have occurred. So
That's
some
so
of these
cool.
dinosaurs saw each other.
That's so cool. Like that's an amazing story that you're telling and preserving at this place. And speaking of like these stories that you are preserving, how does a monument come to be? Like a national park or a national monument, is it something that we vote on? I mean, I'm a little aloof on the answer, so I'd love to know.
Yeah, so it depends on the kind of designation it gets. It can be set aside by Congress or it can be a presidential proclamation. So, for instance, like in the 1915 designation, there were paleontologists who were talking to the director of the Smithsonian at the time and really encouraging him to set aside this site because it was so important. So that was something that was kind of a collaborative effort. And then in 1938, our park was actually expanded to include the areas that the Yampa and the Green River go through, which preserve a really wonderful river and riparian habitat in our park and preserve a really great abundance of wildlife, but also a lot of our cultural history. So these are things that can be set aside both either by Congress or presidential proclamation.
That's really cool. And I think it's amazing that we have this ability to create like these protected spaces. And in your opinion, Rebecca, like why is it important to have these national public lands and monuments and forests and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's really important for people to be able to come back out, especially to nature, and just kind of reconnect and see an area that's somewhat untouched and unmodified and be able to experience that. Because some people might live in urban areas where they never get to see a truly dark night sky with a sky full of amazing stars or be able to swim in an undammed river. These are really important things so people can have this ability to come back to nature and really connect, or even when you come to Dinosaur National Monument, you have the ability to come in here and actually touch dinosaur fossils that are still embedded in the wall. So you as a visitor can come in here and have that experience and be able to touch a piece of history that's still laying where the animal died 150 million years ago. And I think that can really connect you to what's going on and bring it home for you.
Dr. Farkey, if you're watching, this is my official vacation request for next week. Just letting you know now. Here's another great question. Is there any indication that some of the species were permanent residents of the site, or were they going through migrations?
That's a really great question. Those kinds of things can be really hard to infer from the fossil record. We know that animals do like to come to areas where there's abundant vegetation and water because those environments can really be supportive to these animals. But keep in mind too, when you have an environment that's supporting really large herbivores, they do need to move around and disperse a little bit so that they don't overgraze their habitat. So we know that they were probably moving around the area quite a bit, but we aren't sure exactly how far their migration corridors or their habitat would have expanded to.
Cool. Um, Really quick, I know you have your amazing intern slash camera person there today. Are there other ways for folks to volunteer or help out and or support Dinosaur National Monument?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a volunteer in the park program where you can reach out to the park and get an application. We're always looking for volunteers to come out and help us as campground hosts, helping keep up with cultural sites and document rock art and things like that, or coming and helping us document fossil sites or working in our museum collections. There's such a variety of things that you can do as a park volunteer. We also have internship programs. We do a lot of our internships through Scientists in the Park, which is sponsored by Conservation Legacy and the Geological Society of America. So we do internship opportunities through those programs. So yeah, reach out to us. We're always looking for people who want to come out and help the park. You can also reach out if you wanted to, support parks. You can reach out to the National Park Foundation, our Intermountain Natural History Association, or Utah Friends of Paleontology, or some of our great people that we work with that help support our wonderful park here.
Awesome. So yeah, if you check it out, check out the website, follow them on social media. There's a lot of really great ways to connect with the amazing Dinosaur National Monument. Really quick too, also, what is the difference between a national park and a national monument?
That's great. It basically comes down to the type of designation, like
Okay.
whether it's Congress or through presidential proclamation.
Okay, cool. Now I can put that in my little list of things that I know. Here's another question, Rebecca, for you. What is your story? How did you end up at Dinosaur National Monument?
Yeah, I feel very lucky. I did my undergrad degree at the University of Arkansas, my master's degree at Texas Tech. And while I was at Texas Tech, I had the opportunity to work in Big Bend National Park, studying ceratopsian dinosaurs. And from there, I went on and was able to get a preparator job at Augustana College, working for Bill Hammer, cleaning Antarctic fossils and working on things like Cryolophosaurus, which was super cool and a really neat experience. From there, I went to the Museum of Western Colorado, where I ran their field program and took members of the public like you out to dig dinosaurs and worked as their collections manager. And then from there, became the district paleontologist in Moab, Utah for the Bureau of Land Management before coming here. So I've kind of like done a little bit of everything. I've worked in museums, I've worked as a federal paleontologist, I've even done consulting work where we follow around bulldozers or go out and look for fossils before surface disturbance happens to try to protect those fossils. So I feel like I've had a really diverse career and I've been very lucky.
That's really cool. And like all those skills, I'm assuming, have really come in handy in helping to preserve a wall of fossils, right?
Really do. It's helped.
So when you're looking at the quarry and you're able to, are you able, are folks able to get onto it, or that's like not a big no-no, right?
Yeah, we don't let the general public climb up on the wall just because it is so steep and we don't want anybody to fall and get hurt, and we definitely don't want any of our fossils to get damaged. But if you want to come out here real quick, I'll show you some of the fossils that you can see on the quarry wall. So you can come as a visitor and touch these fossils that are here on the wall. There's really, really interesting things like this large femora. There's another bone right here. And as you go on down, there's several other bones. So while you can't climb the wall, you can actually come right up to the wall and get up and close and personal with these fossils. And these are still in the rock exactly as they were found.
That's awesome. And for folks at home who may have never been, what's like the way to visit Dinosaur National Monument, hours and things like that?
Yeah, so right now our hours are 9 to 5. We're fixing to move into our winter hours in November, so check our website for updates. The Dinosaur Quarry is located in southeastern Utah, close to Vernal, Utah, in a town called Jensen. And then the other side of the park where our headquarters is located and where you can go see the Yampa and the Green Rivers is located on the Colorado side of the park. And that's over by the town of Dinosaur, Colorado.
Awesome. Okay, I'm adding that to my itinerary really quick. Okay. So,
We're about 6 hours from Salt Lake and about 6 hours from Denver.
all right, cool. So now I know where to fly into.
Burn I'd stay.
Um, and also, you have social media. So, where's the best place for folks to learn about you, interact with you online, and things like that?
Yeah, check out our website. We also have presence on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So be sure to follow us on those platforms as well under Dinosaur NPS. And please reach out with any comments if you have anything that you're curious about or that you would like to see. Tomorrow we'll be doing some more National Fossil Day content on social media. So be sure to tune in for more cool dinosaur fossils.
Fantastic. It looks like we got a couple last minute questions really quick.
Awesome.
This one's from Emily, who is asking, have you found any Cretaceous dinosaurs in the park?
That's a great question. Let's go over here real quick and I will show you one of our Cretaceous dinosaurs. So this fossil right here, see right there. This is the skull of a dinosaur called a Betasaurus, and this is from the early Cretaceous of the monument. And we actually have several of these skulls that have been found at the quarry. There's 3 really nice skulls that have been found. And so this is work that's still ongoing right now by paleontologist Brooks Britt and Jeff Wilson and several of their students and colleagues who are studying these dinosaurs, and hopefully we'll be learning more about them soon.
Awesome. And then this one's from John, who's asking, have you found any skin impressions in the wall?
Yes, we have. There's here. There's more than we could ever cover. We do have skin impressions. So if you look right here, you can see some Barosaurus skin impressions that were found up on the wall. This is a cast. The original is actually at the Royal Ontario Museum. And this is something they found when they were looking at some of the fossils that had been traded to the museum. They actually found this in one of the box of fossils that they received.
That's
So you
awesome.
it's not, this skin indicates to us that these big sauropod dinosaurs had pebbly skin.
There's just so much to learn and see from this amazing site. When you see sites like this, they're not very common, right? Like something as amazing as this wall is a rare find in the fossil record.
Yeah, there are many bone beds that you can find in the Morrison Formation and in the Cretaceous as well. But the really cool thing about Dinosaur National Monument is it preserves what we call a multi-taxic bone bed. It preserves many different kinds of dinosaurs and other fossils in one accumulation, which is somewhat rare. Other fossil sites like the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry preserves a lot of allosaur fossils. So it's an Allosaurus-dominated quarry. Other sites might preserve a lot of barosaurs. But what's really interesting about our site is it preserves a wide array of different Jurassic fossils.
Speaking of Jurassic fossils, I got a great question from Kim, who's asking, why doesn't Stegosaurus have plates for protection? Since we were talking about the baby Stegosaurus earlier.
The baby Stegosaurus did have little plates on its back, so it would have had plates for protection. But keep in mind, too, as a small animal, we're not sure exactly how much protection they would have offered. They were probably unfortunate snacks for a lot of these predators on occasion, but they probably at least led to a crunchier aspect of their snack.
Nice little afternoon, little crunch Stegosaurus. All right, I think that does it for our questions today. For those of you who didn't hear, make sure you go visit Dinosaur National Monument online. Their social media, they're going to be having some more National Fossil Day stuff tomorrow online, correct?
Yep.
All right, cool. So make sure you check them out. And thank you everyone so much for tuning in to our first episode this week for our National Fossil Day Let's Tour event. And thank you so much, Rebecca. I really, really appreciate you giving us such a great tour of such a great place. I'm so jealous.
We appreciate you guys joining us today, and I hope you'll come see us someday soon, Gabe.
Oh, I definitely am. I've been looking at tickets this whole time. So once again, this is our Let's Tour event. We'll be having another live stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. as we visit John Day Fossil Beds National Park. And on Thursday, we're going to visit Badlands and be seeing some really cool fossils there. National Fossil Day is brought to you by the National Park Service, and if you want to learn more, you can find their website online to see all the other cool National Fossil Day events happening in your area and online. If you like this program and want to support programs like it at the Alf Museum, you can find links on how to do that below. And as usual, Thank you, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe for more stories from the world of paleontology, and I'll see you all tomorrow.